Hello and welcome back to Stationeers. I'm Mick, and today we're going to be having one final go at a new furnace. There's been a few tips that I've got from the comments there that we'll give a go just to make things run a little bit smoother. So we'll pull it down a couple of quality of life things. Got to fix the obvious problems with it. There's no graph on it, so got to get at least one of them in. So we shall have a few things there. Now, one of the changes they did recently was the furnaces do get cold. Now, if you try and seal it in a vacuum room or a frame, which used to work, doesn't work anymore. They will lose heat still at a lower rate, but they'll still lose heat. Now, if it's in a room that is pressurized, it will equalize with the room. I did try that originally when they first did that. I just put a little sniff of gas in there and the furnaces stay hot, but I think they have somewhere along the line amended that, and just a tiny little bit of gas is not enough. So now you actually have to have it pressurized to the magic number, which I wasn't aware of. I just thought it wasn't working anymore. They'd fixed it, but apparently if your room is pressurized to 100 kilopascals, the furnace will equalize with the room and not lose heat. So you can have it perfectly insulated still as long as your room's pressurized 100 kilopascals. Now that will produce some interesting problems because our low heat alloys such as solder are down to about 450 degrees. So if you've got 100 kilopascals at 450 degrees, when you want to smelt things like stellite at 1800 degrees, that 100 kilopascals of pressure will rise up to 400 kilopascals. Which means most of the walls and things we've got will explode unless we've got some sort of active pressure control in there. And yeah, I really don't want to put active pressure control in there because that's, well, too much hard work. Now we do have stellite, the armoured windows. They will allow us to go a little bit fast. They can take up a megapascal of pressure, or you can just run it completely in frames. That's another way of doing it. I think I just use windows. It's annoying that we don't have a megapascal wall that we can put in there, but I guess a window on the front will do us. So first up, I guess we've got to test, is that 100 kilopascals real, or am I being taken on a ride there? So we'll put it in a box. We shall measure the temperature in there. We'll slowly reduce the pressure. If it stays warm until it gets to 100 kilopascals and then starts losing heat below that, we will have confirmed that with an experiment. So let's wall around this thing and see how we go. Radio, we've got the furnace sealed up. We've got some armoured windows on the front and rear, some frames all around, so that should be able to withstand up to a megapascal pressure before it explodes. And yeah, I know. Cool, that was close. All fixed. Right, now we have a gauge up here hooked to a passive vent, so we'll be able to read whatever the pressure is inside. As our thing heats up, our pressure should go up. Now I'm making Constantan. That is just off the top of my head, copper and nickel. You, and put that away. You. So yeet and yeet. Switch is on. She should be heating up. It is. Pressure in there will be going up. So now we've got over 100 kilopascals in there, so that should not cool down. That'll take a while. Is that on fire? What? Well, that's not good. My cables are on fire. No. Right. Not good. Not good. You burned up my cables. Ah! Ow! No! No, stop it! Ah, well, this presents an interesting problem. High pressure, high temperature, bad. Alright, our temperature has almost equalised now. Our furnace is, yep, sure enough, it is running at the right temperature. Our pipe is almost the same. We've got 250 kilopascals, so we shall turn that down. Whoops. We'll drop the pressure. We'll drop it to 120, so we'll halve what we've got in there, and we should still be holding temperature. (102), 101, still holding. Let's drop below 100. And we're still good. 98. Oh, we're still holding. Okay, we're not losing temperature. Whoops. $90, we're still good. $80, we're still holding. Okay, so magic number doesn't look like it's 100. I wonder if it's the number of moles that are in there or something like that. No, it's still good. 75. 65. 60. 50. 'Oh, we're starting to lose temperature now. But very slowly. Is it perfect at 100 and just slowly starts to lose temperature the more and more we go below? It's very slow. Oh, yeah, it's speeding up now. Okay, so the closer you get to a vacuum, the faster it goes down. Around about 50 kilopascals, you should be pretty right by the looks. So if we set it for 50 kilopascals when it's at, say, 450 degrees for solder, we should be right. Well, there's not a lot of heat to lose there. There's not a lot of heat to go. So mainly it's the high pressure ones where you're worried about, the high temperature ones where you're worried about losing heat. So they're the ones that are going to generate more pressure as you go. So it looks like if we set it about 50 kilopascals at cold, it should go up to about 200 kilopascals for stellite, and that won't blow our regular windows. So that might be something to go for there. Boop, you're good. Oh, it's still not losing a lot of heat. Well, there's a lot of gas in there though, isn't there? Right. Okay, so that's interesting, but it does burn out our cables. That's problematic. Oh, and our chutes. Oh, that's a real problem. Oh, not the ones on the walls. Only ones that are completely exposed inside. Oh, that is interesting. Although that chute was on the wall, but that one didn't burn. That one did. Right, weird. Okay, we are reset. I've got a gas sensor in there with some displays on it to show what it is. I have moved the inlet and outlet over one, so there is only the one half exposed chute inside, so hopefully that won't burn. I have moved my fuel pump out to here, so the cable, which I haven't hooked up yet, is on the outside. The other filler pump is still in there. Hopefully that cable is considered outside enough to not burn. So we'll see how we go. So it's back with Constantine again. I shall need to reset them. Okay, we can do that. Yeet. Yeet. Now I've got it set up to back pressure set to 300. So now as it heats up, it will hopefully not all burn. Right, okay, so it's not going to burst into flames. That's a good start. And we are holding temperature. Oh, we're still equalising, so it does take a long time to equalise. But I guess if you're using degassed ingots, once you've got it up to temperature, you can just chuck as much degassed ore in there, especially if you're using these things over here. It comes out of the centrifuge, then you just pour a continuous stream of stuff into one of these that is in a heated room, and it will just spit out more and more and more and never cool down. So that's that way to do it. So okay, so we can insulate it by just having it enclosed in there. Nothing's going to burn, nothing's going to blow up. Right, we want to control our input gas a little bit better, because it was just dumping in a heap of gas at any old pressure. I mean, I didn't want to do it. I mean, our volume pump can adjust its power depending on how much pressure it's got. The higher the pressure the tank is, the faster it'll blow in, and that's giving us a bit of problems with our temperature regulation. So what I want to do, I mean, as I've already got a connection to the pump, I can, instead of switching it on and off, I can vary its speed. But to know what the pressure is that's coming in, I will have to connect to the tank, which I really didn't want to do, but I guess I can. So we'll hook the tank up, and we might be able to improve the precision of our precision furnace, because at the moment it's not very precise. So where's my thing I got on? There it is. Yo. Oh, and as we're varying the speed of the volume pump, oh yes, only one thing can be possible for a variable speed thing. That would be a graph. So the awesomeness has already improved. Cue up to the volume pump. Nice. Right, now we need to hook up the tank, we need to read the tank, and we need to set the speed on the volume pump depending on the volume in the tank. Right, now we want, what do I want? If the, now we don't want it to be running all the time. If there's nothing in there, we don't want to blow in a heap of gas before the fuel has a chance to get in there, because the fuel will produce extra gas that's not counted until after it's burned. So we may want to slow the input down until it's reached temperature, or slow it down while it's getting up to temperature. So I'll need to take into account the temperature of the tank, the pressure of the tank, and the temperature in the furnace, and what the target temperature is, and vary it depending on that. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds easy. So the tank. Right, we load the temperature and pressure. Make sure we don't have a division by 0. Divide pressure by temperature multiplied by the target temperature. Is it less than the pressure? Switch it on. Right, so that is when we switch it on. So we want to load, we want to set the speed of it as well. So I shall load into, so R0 we're using, so load into R1 from the tank, the pressure. Now we want to set the speed based on the pressure, so we'll just do some arbitrary number divided by the pressure will be the setting. So divide R1 shall equal pressure 100 kilopascals, 100. Let's say just 1000 divided by the pressure, which is R1. Save to the filler pump. Oops, setting R1. Right. So the more pressure is in there, the less speed the pump should go at. If I export that, whoops, push the wrong button. Okay, our pump has gone down a long way. That might be too much. Well, what does our pump run on? Is it right? Our pump has a maximum setting of 100, not 1. Right. So let's just take a couple of zeros off that one. You've gone down even less. Oh, sorry. Add a couple of zeros. We have 1000. Add 2 zeros. Yep. Export. That should go back. There we go. That's better. Right. Now we don't want that entering until it gets the right temperature. Now, we're saying we find the current temperature. Make sure it's not 0. Divide the pressure by R1. Right, we subtract the current temperature from the minimum temperature. It's low temperature, so that'll give us a high value. Divide it by the minimum temperature, give us a high value between 1 and 0. Subtract 1 from that, it should be giving us a low value now. Load the pressure, divide pressure by that, multiply those two together and we get a setting. Right. Yeet. Now as it heats up, this value should go up. And it just takes a little while to get there now. Okay, so it is, looks like it is flashing in more and more gas as we add in more and more filler, which means we should be able to add filler in a bit quicker to keep that volume pump running. So we said, where is it? Let's up that to 5 times. Now you're on solid. Well, nice. Oh, shit. It doesn't look like it's going to get there again. It is still going up. Provided my box doesn't burst into flames again. Oh, got it. Nice. Okay. Right, now there is so a lot of the heat we put in will be absorbed by what's in that room there. Now you can calculate for it, but as I'm running a line of code, I'm probably not going to. There is with it just, I mean, as your furnace heats up, there will be some lag as the heat transfers from there to there. There will be some lag as the combustion happens. But as the heat gets transferred out, the code should realise that and then just add more fuel as we go, which means you made that with more, with a higher pressure. But for some of the stuff there, because I'm too impatient to wait for it to actually finally equalise and get to its end pressure, I tend to just get it to pass through the zone of forming the ingot instead of trying to actually stop it there. So that's probably good enough for me. But at the moment, I've actually filled it up with the native Lulan atmosphere here, which is mostly oxygen. So in the furnace there, I have an awful lot of oxygen, which of course is being consumed in our combustion. Now we've actually got a connection. Well, of course we've got a connection to the fuel pump because we need to switch it on and off, but we can actually use that to set the balance of fuel coming in there, so it will actually take into consideration what's in here and just apply the correct amount of hydrogen in there. I mean, we can. The furnace doesn't know what mix of nitrous and oxygen is coming in the fuel. It doesn't know if it's pure nitrogen, pure oxygen. So I don't really want to put a sensor on there because that's just another device I'm going to have to add. But there is only one combustible gas, which is the hydrogen. Now, I don't know what oxidizer is coming in with it, but I do know what is in the furnace, and I do know what ratio of oxidizer and fuel I need to bring in to burn what's there. So if the right combination of oxygen doesn't come in, well, it'll realise that the next game tick and make an adjustment there. So once again, it'll be a bit of a weird thing, but we can attempt to set that based on what we need. Now, we shall set our fuel mixer. Let's hope I've got enough lines of code there. So before we switch it on, well, we just really want to know if we want to switch it on and off. Then we shall set the setting. Okay, so we've got a ratio of oxygen, ratio of nitrous. So the oxygen times 2 plus the nitrous is how much hydrogen you should have. Right, so now if you take the amount of hydrogen you should have, the amount you have, so if you divide the amount you have got by the amount you should have, that should give you a pump setting. So that's how much we should have. Get rid of you. So if I divide the amount we should have, 3 will equal the amount we should have, the amount we've got, divided by the amount we should have. So if we've got less than we need, it should give us a higher number. If we've got more than we need, that should give us a low number. Will that work? Probably not. Shit. My brain's not going to work with this one. It's gone to 100, certainly where it should be. Now we're going up. Nice. As it burns, it comes back down again as all the hydrogen burns. Well, having it enclosed in a box there seems to make a huge difference to it. We've changed the inlet rate, which is now dependent on what's in our tank out here. Large tank seems to be working quite nicely. Oh, that's actually still quite warm. Well, it's cooling down. Right, our fuel mixer is mixing fuel to use what's actually in there, rather than just dumping the fuel mix, and it seems to be going a lot nicer now. So if we grab our put that away. Whoop. Yeet and yeet. It seems to be going through our stuff now, so it's mixing the fuel. There is a surplus of oxidizer in there, so it's still pumping in mostly hydrogen. Making little adjustments there as things go along, and there is our invar. Yeet. Yeet. Those two, of course, have both got oxidizers in both of them. So our fuel notices that and drops down right into pure hydrogen. And there's still a heap of oxygen in the tank there, so as it's blowing in extra, we get more hydrogen, more oxygen coming in. Right. Temperature's up there, pressure's up there, fuel mix is mixing, and there's our alloy. Nice. Now you should switch back on again. It should start cooling down. And we're good. Well, it seems to be working a lot better than what it was. Still not perfect, but in terms of infrastructure, it is still just the furnace, a fuel pump, a volume pump, a mixer. Yep. And a tank. Yeah. So yeah, that is a very, very low infrastructure thing, and it is fairly easily making all of our alloys. So yeah, that's probably, it's tweaked up a little bit better than what it was. It's still probably could be better, but I've run out of lines of code, so yeah, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. I've got 5 lines of code. So ideally you'd calculate the thermal energy that's in the room around here and include that in your sums, but it does just creep up to the temperature and it will count that as it goes up. So I'm not too fussed about it. But yeah, there we go. I think we'll put a pin in that one and say that's the new furnace design done, or as done as it's going to get. So I've run out of code, and that's probably about it. But it is it's a low infrastructure furnace. So it's the furnace, the tank, the pump, and the mixer. And wherever you get your fuel from, that's your problem. and how you cool down your tank. Yeah, do that your way. Yeah, the tank's got to be cool, and yeah, the rest of the furnace will look after itself. You put any fuel into it, it will adapt to it. If there is fuel in your filler gas, it will adapt to it. Yeah, it all seems to work. And it's got 2 graphs, so it's awesome. Yeah, but I think that'll be it. So, till next time, happy building. See ya.